به لدينك ولا تستبدل بي غيري. أعوذ بجلال وجهك الكريم أن ينقضي عني شهر رمضان أو يطلع الفجر من ليلتي هذه ولن قبلي تبعة أو ذنب تعذبني عليه. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إلهي وقف السائلون ببابك ولاذ الفقراء بجنابك ووقفت سفينة المساكين على ساحل بحر جودك وكرمك يرجون الجواز إلى ساحة رحمتك ونعمتك. إلهي إن كنت لا ترحم في هذا الشهر الشريف إلا لمن أخلص لك في صيامه وقيامه، فمن للمذنب المقصر إذا غرق في بحر ذنوبه وآثامه. إلهي إن كنت لا ترحم إلا المطيعين فمن للعاسين، وإن كنت لا تقبل إلا من العاملين فمن للمقصرين. إلهي ربح السائمون وفاز القائمون ونجا المخلصون، ونحن عبيدك المذنبون، فارحمنا برحمتك واعتقنا من النار بعفوك واغفر لنا ذنوبنا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم أدخل على أهل القبور السرور، اللهم أغني كل فقير، اللهم أشبع كل جاع، اللهم اكس كل عريان، اللهم اقض دين كل مدين، اللهم فرج عن كل مكروب، اللهم رد كل غريب، اللهم فك كل أسير، اللهم اصلح كل فاسد من أمور المسلمين، اللهم اشف كل مريض، اللهم اشف كل مريض، اللهم اشف كل مريض، اللهم سد فقرنا بغناك، اللهم غير سوء حالنا بحسن حالك، اللهم اقض عنا الدين وأغننا من الفقر إنك على كل شيء قدير. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا علي ويا عظيم، يا غفور يا رحيم، أنت الرب العظيم الذي ليس كمثله شيء وهو السميع البصير. وهذا شهر عزمته وكرمته وشرفته وفضلته على الشهور، وهو الشهر الذي فرضت صيامه عليه، وهو شهر رمضان الذي أنزلت فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان، وجعلت فيه ليلة القدر وجعلتها خيرا من 1000 شهر. فيا ذا المن ولا يمن عليك، من علي بفكاك رقبتي من النار في من تمن عليه، وادخلني الجنة برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا، حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.
من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين، ثم الصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على خاتم النبيين والسيد المرسلين أبي القاسم محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين، لا سيما على الإمام المنتظر وحجة الله الثاني عشر ابن العسكري المنتظر، ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد، فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه الكريم القرآن الحكيم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان. صلوات. इससे पहले कि हम भूल जाए, there's a request for reciting, दुआ करने के लिए फरहत काज़मी की सेहत के लिए. So in tune with the request, may I request all of us to recite 5 times Amma Yujibu for the Sihat Yabi of Farhad Kazmi Sahab and for Kul Marada and all those who are sick. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء 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 اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وأجل فرجهم. There's also a request today for Surah Fatiha for the Isa alayhi Sawab for Janab Sayyid Hassan Mujtaba and Muhtarama Sayyida Haseen Fatima, the parents of Sayyida Nuzhat Asif. May we please request all of us to recite Surah Fatiha for these marhumeens and kul marhumeen and marhumat. Rahimallahu man qara al-Fatiha. Muhammad wa ala Muhammad salawat. Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So we reached last night to a point where we are now coming to the core details of the entire event, but core details as indicated to us by the Quran. And then to explain further, we will take the help of the riwayat and the ahadith of the Ma'sumin to explain further. To make things easier, I will just recap last night what we had said, and then just so that you follow. If you remember, we had said now we've reached the point when these Ashab-e-Kahf have entered into the cave. And now Quran is explaining to us those 300 or 309 years that they've lived. We made elaborate arrangements for them to be able to live inside it. And verse number 17 and 18 of Surah Kahf identifies 6 points that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this verse, in this entire event, what details He has gone through, and you will see such elaborate details that require such understanding of the scientific aspects related to the material life of this world, that it just leaves a person flabbergasted as to what really happens. So what I've done is those 6 points are included in these 2 verses, Surah ayah number 17 and ayah number 18. And each of these points we will pick up, and to highlight and facilitate an easier understanding, what I've done is I have, in the ayat that you see on the screens, I have increased the font of that section that I will be discussing and elaborating on and presenting the tafsir, so that you can understand what part of the ayat that we are doing. Surah ayah number 7 starts out with Tara Shams Idha Tala'at. That when, and this is a recap of the first 2 points and then the last 4 points, and that probably would be the end of tonight's lecture. It says, look, in order for them to live in this, I will tell you what we have done. First of all, I'm going to highlight the location of the cave. Location means where it stands and how we have identified which cave they would eventually land up and then go off to sleep for 300 or 309 years. So the location of that cave from inside is where Tara Shams, and you will see the Shams, the sun, when it rises, إِذَا طَلَعَتْ, when it rises, تَتَزَاوَرُ عَنْ كَهْفِهِمْ, it does the ziyarat of the cave. It does the ziyarat, doesn't दाखिल नहीं होते हैं, ziyarat करके चला जाता है ये सूरज. It just does the ziyarat and goes away, meaning that no part of the sun enters the cave. It rises from the right, obviously from your side, when you're watching it will be the other side. On the right hand side, it rises up, it moves over, goes and settles down on the left hand side, meaning that the mouth of the face is facing the north. This we discussed yesterday. I just want to add one more point and then I will summarize it comprehensively. So when you see the sun rising, it rises from inside, you will see it rising from the right. It sets on the left-hand side. It doesn't enter inside. This is point number 1. Point number 2, in the same surah ayah, وَهُمْ فِي فَجْوَةٍ مِّنْهُ. Fajwa means internal part. Meaning, Allah is saying these individuals, when they were sleeping, they were not sleeping on the door of the cave, at the entrance of the cave. Fi fajwatin min, right inside, while they were in a wide space thereof. So they enter inside, and there is a massive space, and that's where they sit inside. Now, when you compare both this, the sun rises and sets, and it does the ziyarat only. This visits, doesn't enter inside. Doesn't say what tadkhulu shams, the sun enters, or the dhaw shams, the sunlight enters. It doesn't say that. It says the sun does ziyarat and goes away. Words of the Quran make a very good impact. It has been specifically used for a specific purpose, and that's why it is a mu'jiza. The sun goes, it doesn't enter inside. Point number one. Point number two, these individuals are not sitting at the entrance of the cave. They are deep inside, and inside fi fajwatin minhu. Fajwa means deep inside, and it's massive. These are point number two. Point number three that can be deduced is that because it is facing the north wind is blowing inside. As a result of which now there is no sun that is coming inside. The place inside is very vast, and so they're not at the corner. And the third, the north wind is blowing inside, makes this entire place very ventilated. Basically, the idea for all of this is that if somebody were to pass by the cave, the mouth of the cave is very small. So they would just pass by, oh, this is an ordinary cave. Every cave, when a person passes by a mountainous terrain, you don't go inside. So there was nothing fantabulous about the entrance, a small little entrance, but once you enter, it becomes massive. One, no sun is coming inside. It is ventilated, all to take care of the physical structure of the body. We mentioned yesterday, continuous and protracted exposure to the sun brings about cancerous stuff, brings about decay of the skin, brings about premature aging, and ages a person. These individuals cannot age. They have to live for 309 years. At the same time, they need requirements of the oxygen and various support, as a result of which they can continue their life. And how they're going to live for 309 years will come. But now it's very well ventilated. The air is coming in. They're deep inside. If somebody's passing by, they will not know who's sleeping inside. The sun is not coming, all with a view to protect the physical structure. This is what we discussed last night. Now we're moving forward today. This is fantastic. And this ayah number 18 that comes gives you such fantabulous stuff that you will, it's just amazing. So look how it starts. It says, وَتَحْسُبُهُمْ أَيْقَاظًا وَهُمْ رُقُودٌ. You might think them awake while they are asleep. What it says is that if you were to go there and if you were to see them, you will تَحْسُبُهُمْ أَيْقَاظًا. أيقاظ comes from the word يَقْظَ. يَقْظَ means to be open-eyed, to be awake. If you were to see them in the state that they were sleeping for 300 or 309 years, you would consider them to be awake. But they're not awake, وَهُمْ رُقُودٌ, but they're sleeping. Rawat tells us these individuals, when they went to sleep, they slept with their eyes open. And that is why in that first instance, when he says we made them go to sleep, he didn't say, I closed their eyes. وَضَرَبْنَا عَلَىٰ آذَانِهِمْ, we closed their ears. And we gave the example of fiqh. At times the eyes can close, but the ears can hear. In that case, the wudu doesn't become batil. It's only when the ears cannot see, then a person goes into sleep. Meaning what? Meaning it is possible that the eyes are open and the ears are closed, and yet the person is sleeping. Vice versa will not take place. The eyes closed, the ears remain open. Fiqh says that wudu is not batil. But if the ears close and the eyes remain, Quran says they are sleeping. So get this point. It says, now these people, وَتَحْسُبُهُمْ أَيْقَاظًا, you will consider them that they are sleeping, but they are awake, but they have ruqud. Now the writer says there's a reason for which they did it. And look, the elaborate arrangements. Now these individuals are sleeping, but God says we will make them sleep with their eyes open. The presumptions that goes that when they're sleeping over there, look, this is the mountainous terrain. This is a mountainous region. In mountainous region, you have small little insects, small little reptiles that keep coming. And in such cases, for example, those who've been to North America, the Grouse Mountains, where you have these polar bears and the black bears, the not polar, the grizzly bears. They said, if you see them, don't run away. Play dead. Or you can just stare into the eyes, don't make any movement, and they will not harm you and they will go away. In order for them to live for 300 odd years in the cave, there had to be arrangements that if by chance certain small little animals were to come inside, they would not find them, appear to them as these people are sleeping and attack them. So it was an elaborate arrangement that we will make them sleep, but we will keep their eyes open so that in case a fox happens to pass by, a jackal happens to pass by, a small little insect happens to pass by, a snake happens to pass by, they will see that individual eyes open and realize this individual is not asleep, it is awake. It is a deterrent mechanism to prevent these individuals from being attacked by insects or being attacked by small animals that would probably then wake them up from the slumber. They're supposed to be sleeping, they're not supposed to be harmed, they're supposed to be kept intact so that after 300 and 309 years, when they get up, they are in a state which is sahih and salim. So you say, وَتَحَسُبُهُمْ أَيْقَاظًا, you will find them as if they're awake, the eyes are open. But we've put them into sleep. And this comes out of the qudrat of God, that they're sleeping, but the eyes are open. Okay, now in this, look at this, how things move forward now. In the same ayah, it says the first one is, وَتَحَسِبُهُمْ أَيْقَاظًا. You will see that you would appear them as they were awake, but they're sleeping. The second part immediately, it's not a new verse, it's the same part. So we've done one, that the sun was not coming inside. The second was they were inside in a well-ventilated place with all the carbon dioxide allowed to move out, oxygen allowed to move in because of the northerly winds that is blowing. Point number two. Now they've got all the elements to survive. Now they need to be protected from insects and animals that could harm them. So we made them sleep, but we kept their eyes open. That becomes another deterrent for the individual, for animals or insects who would want to trouble them. And so it becomes a part of a defensive mechanism. And then this one says, وَتَقَلُّبُهُمْ وَنُقَلِّبُهُمْ ذَاتِ الْيَمِينِ وَذَاتِ الشِّمَالِ. Nuqallib means to turn from one side to the other. Okay, I need to explain this a little because this is just absolutely fantastic. And that is why, you see, when a person is, आप देखिएगा कि हर इंसान कोई सी चीज की महारत रखता हो, वो जब गुफ्तगू करेगा तो वो अपनी महारत का जो है वो झलक नजर आ ही जाएगी. So for example, somebody is a solicitor and he's talking, sometimes some aspects of law will creep into his talks. Somebody is a scholar and even in normal talks कभी कभी हदीस आ ही जाएगी, आज जो बयान हो ही जाएगी, वो जो है वो that's part of, because that's his expertise. This is Allah. He is Khaliqul Ilm. So when he talks about instances, automatically at times, scientific issues will come to the fore. Ilmi issues will come to the fore. Before I explain to this, in the Quran, Allah mentions that, देखिए हमारी खुसूसियत, and this is one of the things that the parents need to understand. वो कहते हैं ना कि एक मर्तबा जो है वो विलादत कर दी बच्चों की, अब जो है वो परवरिश की जिम्मेदारी माँ की है. We all settled down. We've done our bit. Now it's the mother who needs to take care of. Allah says it is wrong. According to us, when we create, we give the elements that are necessary for sustaining life. This is called Hidayat Awwaliya, the primary guidance. He creates thumma hada. He gives guidance. Let me give you what guidance is. आप जो है, for example, एक duckling, एक बत्तख जो है जब विलादत होती है, आप जो है उसको, as soon as it comes out of the egg, you pick it up and put it into the water. What will happen? It'll start swimming. He's just come out of the egg. The egg is just broken, a small little duckling. Probably two can fit in the palm of my hand. When you pick it up and throw it into the water, it begins to swim. Who has taught it to swim? He's just come out. Take the example of a chick. अब जो है वो मुर्गी ने अंडा दिया, जो है वो, it bursts open, the chick comes out. You put little rice or corn or some sort of grains, it will immediately begin to peck. Who started to peck? Abhi आप ही के सामने, it's come out of the egg. This is called the primary guidance. कि इंसान परवरदिगार आलम जब किसी को खल्क करता है तो खल्क करके खुद पर नहीं छोड़ देता. वो ऐसे असबाब फराहम करता है कि इब्तिदा मराहिल में तुम्हें जिंदगी करने के लिए हम कुछ ऐसे टूल्स देंगे दैट यू विल पुल ऑन योर लाइफ, यू आर एबल टू सस्टेन लाइफ। ये हमारी खुसूसियत है खालिकियत की। हम सिर्फ खल करके छोड़ नहीं देते, हम आपके पास ऐसी सहूलतें देंगे कि यू कैन कंटिन्यू योर लाइफ। या तो बना के छोड़ देना तो कोई भी कर सकता है, बनाकर इस तरह जो है उसको निजाम बख्शना कि ही इज गॉट द एबिलिटी टू सर्वाइव। और इसी में आप देखेंगे जब बच्चा पैदा होता है ना इंसान के घर में, एक दिन का बच्चा, आधे दिन का बच्चा, कुछ घंटों का बच्चा, when he is born, if a fly sits on his nose, he's not able to move it. Note this. A fly sits on his nose, on his face, he is not able to move. He's not able to push it. He doesn't know. It's not being taught. His senses have not developed. He will not be able to move it. Notice those who've got children. He'll start crying or she'll start crying. You have to move it. Nahi hai usko. But as soon as the breast of a mother touches the cheek, begins to suckle. Ye kisne sikhaya? Fly, you're not able to move, but the moment it touches, the breast touches, immediately it begins to suckle. Ye kisne sikhaya? This is that initial hidayat. Had this hidayat not been given to this child who does not even know how to move aside a fly, this child would have died within hours of birth. But नहीं, हमारा ये काम ये है ही नहीं। हमारा काम बड़ा मुनज़्ज़म काम है। हम खिलकत देंगे और फिर खिलकत को इदामे के लिए भी आपके सामने वसाइल पेश कर देंगे, हिदायत देंगे आपको। आप दूसरा कुछ कर ही नहीं सकते, सिवाय रोने से कि आप कुछ कर ही नहीं सकते। लेकिन उसके बावजूद हम आपके जहन में, आपके रोम में कुछ ऐसी चीजें फिट कर देंगे कि यू डोंट नीड अ रैम फॉर इट टू रन। अब ये बच्चे समझते रैम और रोम। When you have a computer, you have ROM. Everything that is required to run that computer is there in RAM. Then when you take it to an advanced level, you need to put a RAM. Without the RAM, it can function. Without the RAM, the OS will not run. That OS is ingrained into our mindset. This is called Hidayat Awwaliya, whether it is a duckling, whether it is a chick, whether it is a human person. See? Have you understood? The second level of Hidayat is that we've given you the primary equipments to continue your life, but we also need to equip you to have deterrence of mechanisms that will save you, which I would term as safety mechanisms. In every creation of God, there are certain safety mechanisms which not only protects him, but also gives him an ability to carry on his life. एक चीज है खाने का, that is a positive step. You need food, so you've been taught as soon as you come out, you eat. But just by eating it is not sufficient. You have to have something positive, one, and you should have a deterrent towards warding away the negative, which we call safety. In every creation, God has given something which is called a safety mechanism. I'll give you a couple of them so that you understand. अब फिर आप समझिए कि जब दुआ अरफा में जो है 1.5 घंटे की दुआ में जब मौला जो है वो बाहर निकल के काबे का रुख करके जब वो दुआ शुरू करते हैं ना, फिर आंखों से क्यों जारी होता है। आप पढ़िएगा दुआ अरफा में इमाम हुसैन अलैहिस्सलाम की, एक एक बंद जो उसका एवरी सेंटेंस ही इज सेइंग दीस आर द निअमत दैट यू हैव गिवन टू अस, आई डोंट इवन थिंक अबाउट दोस थिंग्स। इमाम सोचते हैं हमें बताया बाबा सोचिए ये स्टेप। यू वांट टू सी द डिटरेंस दैट अल्लाह हैज प्लेस्ड फॉर इनटू अस एज a safety mechanism, you wouldn't even have thought about it. Humans, I'm giving a general perception, obviously. जब आपके हाथ में, for example, you take a knife and you slice it. या जंजीर का कोई मातम कर दो, जंजीर का मातम क्या जो है वो कमा से किया, and it strikes and it begins to bleed. When it begins to bleed, what happened? It hurts, yeah? दर्द तो होता है कि नहीं होती? It begins to pain. या ये somebody like वो कैसे भाई के बेचारे खाना पकाते पकाते उनका हाथ कट गया, दर्द हुआ, बैंडेज लगा दिया. This pain is a defense mechanism for our safety. This pain is a safety mechanism that is put into our wujud. Assuming you don't have any pain, you cut yourself, you're bleeding but you don't have any pain. ये पेन जो है ना हमको वादार करता है, मजबूर करता है to sort that issue out. अगर वो पेन ना हो ना, and you don't know what has happened, the blood would start coming out and the person will bleed to death. Pain forces us कि थोड़ा कर गया, ला पहले डेटॉल लेके डिसइंफेक्ट करें, फिर उसके बाद बैंडेज लगा दे ताकि जो है वो कोएगुलेट हो जाए, ब्लीडिंग ना हो, and इंसान is not dead. Had we not had the concept of pain, if we bleed and we don't know, पीठ में कुछ लग गया, blood is coming out, रात की तारीख में कुछ लग गया है मसलन, और हमें पेन नहीं हो रहा, रात भर में by the time you'll not get up in the morning because you'll bleed to death. इंसान के दिमाग में जो है वो दर्द हो रहा है, पेन हो रहा है, शदीद पैरासीटामोल ले लिया, पैराडोल लीजा, the pain doesn't go, still is having, pain doesn't go. So now you go for a checkup. You go for a checkup, you find out there's a tumor. Have this tumor, if this tumor is not taken out, brain hemorrhage, he would die. That pain forces us to follow a certain event to remove the dangerous thing from our body to save us and to continue our life. Pain is a defense mechanism. In our body, you travel karte, you keep hearing jet lag. What is this jet lag all about? This jet lag is because in our body, there is something which is referred to as the biological clock. What is this biological clock? It's also called the biological clock. It's also called the 24-hour clock. Those who are into the medical field will know. This clock is something that has been put inside the body that controls the timing of various events in the body. This entire timing is referred to in the technical term as the circadian rhythms. Those who are into the medical field will know. Circadian rhythms is a 24-hour biological clock that is ingrained in our wujud. You can't see it. This 24-hour clock monitors our sleeping patterns, monitors our waking up patterns, monitors our body temperature. It coordinates it. There are two components, and listen to this so that you understand what is happening over here. This clock that we have, the circadian rhythm, this circadian rhythm consists of two clocks that control the timing of the body. One clock is placed into the timing center of the brain. This timing center of the brain is a certain nucleus which is referred to as the SCN. This entire timing has two clocks. One, the main clock, is into the brain, which is referred to as the timing center. That timing center, that portion of the brain in which that fundamental clock that controls all the timings in the body, and I'll tell you what those are. That is referred to the part of the brain which is referred to as the hypothalamus. That is the primary clock. And every tissue and every organ that we have subsidiary and peripheral clocks. So that one clock monitors and controls all the various clocks. What clocks do they maintain? And what are these timings? To maintain a proper equilibrium in the body needs to generate an appropriate amount and a timely secretion of proteins, enzymes, and hormones. These cannot be created ad hoc at random times. It has to be timed so that it is secreted in a manner that provides an equilibrium to the entire body. The fundamental clock, which is in the timing center of the hypothalamus of the brain, is the fundamental clock. It controls all the other clocks. Every tissue in the body has a miniature clock. When it's time for proteins to be generated, the fundamental clock will pass a message to those clocks that are around regions that create proteins. Those are represented by clock genes. When those clock genes come into effect, that particular tissue comes into action, begins to secrete the enzyme or the hormones or the chemical substances. When a certain amount is secreted, the clock will pass a message, now the other clocks needs to close. When the clocks stop, these enzymes will stop secretion. Now this is another part. Over here, proteins were generated. Now you need certain chemicals to be generated, certain enzymes to be generated. That entire structure in the body has to have an equilibrium. Itne minute tak ye enzyme ho, then for certain hours that chemical comes out, then these hormones need to be generated. When all of them are in sync, hum kehte hain insaan ka jism salim hai. These clocks, the timing mechanism, the 24-hour biological, the circadian rhythm and the circadian clock, these are triggered by photons, light. Photons, light particles. They trigger the absence of photons, which is darkness, and the presence of photons, which is light, triggers the entire mechanism. And this is why we have something which is referred to as a jet lag. When I'm in the United States, based on the photons that is received by the brain and that is sent to the circadian system, the primary clock, the main clock in the brain, it is identified that 11 o'clock is the time when I don't receive the photons because it's lights out. Based on that, it sets up a time when I am supposed to go to sleep. In the morning when I get up and I switch on the light, that is the time it receives the photons. So now it knows, it sets and synchronizes itself that 11 o'clock is the time I don't receive light. 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning is the time I receive light. So now it circulates and synchronizes the secretion of various enzymes based on these two timings. When I travel from UK to Melbourne, which is a 9-hour plus difference, what is 11 o'clock over there becomes 8 o'clock over here. When I come over here, it is 8 o'clock over here. The body is accustomed to thinking it is 11 o'clock. So it is expecting the photons are not going to be received by it. But surprise, surprise, it is 8 o'clock in the morning. It is daytime, it receives photons. As a result of it, now it is not able to understand. Is it 11 o'clock or is it 8 o'clock? So now it doesn't know which part of the body to allow the enzymes to be secreted, which protein segments need to be activated, which chemical parts and which part of the body to go. This is what is referred to as jet lag. That clock disharmonizes itself. Now you don't know to sleep or to wake up. The body is not able to control. This biological clock controls sleeping and getting up patterns. It knows that now 8 o'clock over here is 11 o'clock. He's supposed to sleep. But I'm not able to trigger the mechanism to sleep because I'm receiving the photons. I'm not supposed to be receiving the photons. When this happens, the body goes into an inequilibrium. This is what we refer as jet lag. It requires certain time for it to now recalibrate itself, to realize, no, what was 11 is now morning. No, you don't expect that. So now it will recalibrate itself to realize, oh, what was 11 is now not 11. It is 8 because I'm receiving the photons. A day or two it takes to readjust. Now you go back into Melbourne system. When you are young, it happens faster. When you reach my age, it becomes slower. There was a time when I would recover in jet lag in 24 hours. The body would recalibrate itself quickly. Now it takes me 2 to 3 days. But that's part of the aging process. But this is how the entire functioning works. This is how the entire body functioning works. You heard that? This is one of the mechanisms of protection which is there within man. And this is what it is said. When you recite that 100 and the ayah number 110, something gets triggered. You know what I said? Fazilat jo hai, ayah number 110, the aakhri ayat of Surah Kahf is what? You don't need an alarm clock to wake you up. You recite that and you do the niyat that you want to get up at a certain time, you get up at a certain time. I don't know how it works, but I know the theology, I know the philosophy, I know the fundamentals. There's a certain algorithm which when comes into play will wake me. How this particular 110 ayat of Surah Kahf initiates and triggers that algorithm, I don't know. But I know it triggers because the Masumin have said to me. Not only Masumin have said to me, people have attempted it, people have tried it, people have done it. It is mujarrab. When it is mujarrab and tested and tried, then I don't need, okay, then I can be aam khane se matlab hai, wo gutne kyun bun raha hai? I don't need to know why, how it is triggered. I know it triggers. So there's a certain algorithm that will wake me up. This ayah triggers it. Khalas, I don't need to know the intricacies. When you type control C, do you go to see exactly what are the source code to know how it works? No, you don't go to the source code. It's a control C copy, control V paste. कौन जाता देखने के सोर्स कोड दिखाए कौन सा जो है वो सी में या जावा में या पाइथन में कौन सा जो है कोड लिखा है? Nobody goes beyond that. You understand what I'm saying? This is one mechanism within the man. Similarly, one of the mechanisms to protect man is something which is called रात को जो करवट बदलते हैं ना. That is an involuntarily an effect, an event, an activity. You like it or not, it goes on in your body. You don't have control over it. आप सो जाइएगा. Even if you take sleeping pills and you sleep, the body will change. Don't think you're doing it now. It's not voluntarily. It's an involuntary activity. It's like breathing. It's like blinking of the eyes. Can you stop blinking of the eyes? You can't. वो कहते हैं staring के competition होते हैं ना, कौन एक दूसरे की, you do it in school and colleges. Staring. Who blinks first? एक minute, 1.5 minute, 2 minutes, then whoever blinks first, then he has to give you a cold drink. Haram, you can't do that. That buying of cold drink is haram, all this, or shart lagana. But this is involuntary, you can't control it. You may be able to suppress the movement for a certain time, but you can't stop it. Eventually a time will come, you will blink. You have to blink. Can you stop breathing? 1 minute, 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes underwater, or just close your nose. After that, you have no option. You have to open it up. Why? The body forces you to do this. It is a defense mechanism to save your life. If you keep closing, the heart then stops because it doesn't get the oxygen. You will die. God says it cannot happen. I will force you. Situation will come. The body will react. You will have to take off your hand from your nose to survive. Mechanism has been placed. One of the mechanism is रात के टाइम पे हम करवट बदलते हैं. Go and read it up. To sleep in a certain position at night without moving is amazingly detrimental to the body. Because if you continue to sleep on a certain position without changing for a protracted period of time, science says that part of the body that is constantly touching the mattress, the arteries and the veins in that portion gets constrained and blood begins to get concentrated. It could coagulate. In a person who's living, if blood coagulates, then even for a microsecond, if blood doesn't reach the heart will have an arrest. And that is why one of the ways in olden times when the Secret Service wanted to kill people, you know what they would do? If they didn't want to leave any remnants of evidence, they will take. When you go to hospitals, for injections, hospital जब इंजेक्शन के लिए जाते हैं तो डॉक्टर क्या करता है? दवा भरता है, then he raises it up, then he pushes it till some of the liquid falls out. Why? शौक है उसको. Why does he waste that liquid? You know why? He's not wasting the liquid. He's making sure there is no air bubble inside. There is no air inside. So he pushes it so that when liquid flows out, he's certain that there is no air. You know why? Because if you were to inject into the body a liquid in which for a fraction of a nanosecond there is no liquid and it's just air, that fraction of a small nanosecond in which it is air, if it reaches the heart will go into cardiac arrest. The flow of blood into the heart has to be continuous. And so what they would do in olden days, if they wanted to kill somebody, assassinate somebody without leaving evidence, they would slowly put in just pump in a little air inside. It'll go moving through the entire body. The moment it goes into the heart, clack, cardiac arrest. The person dies. Oh, but post-mortem, then he suffers a cardiac arrest. He's died out of cardiac arrest. It is an insinuated and forced cardiac arrest, not a natural one. So you understand how it works? When this body is not moving, it's living in a station at a certain place. This portion of the body constantly over there. Pressure builds up, gets concentration of blood, could coagulate. If it coagulates, there is no movement of blood. When there is no movement of blood, for a split moment of time, there would be in the heart a time when there is no blood. The person dies. And that is why God, in His absolute wisdom, has put into a human body the involuntary mechanism. Aap chaho ke na chaho, whether you're in a deep slumber or you're in light slumber, we will set a mechanism in the body. You like it or not, you will have to keep turning left and right. ये तो करवट बदलना आप अपने मन से नहीं करते. समझ लो फारिस. فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ. कौन सी नेमतों को जो है ठुकराओगे तुम? कौन सी चीजों से? It's so easy to somebody come and say, oh, खुदा नहीं है. I don't see the existence of God. That's Stephen Hawkins, or Stephen Henry, the snooker player. Stephen Hawkins, one of the greatest physicists, he says, I don't see the presence of God necessary in the creation of the universe. Everything I can explain by formulas. Everything you can explain by formulas. Formulas किसने बनाया है? Formulas किसने बनाया है? E is equal to mc square तुमने कश्फ किया, लेकिन ये formula का practical implementation किसने बनाया है कायनात में? वो तो देखो. You can explain everything by formula. Go deeper. कहाँ से आया वो formula को relationship? इसीलिए कहते फ़बिअय्यि आलाइ रब्बिकुमा तुकज़्ज़िबान, कौन सी नेमतों का खुदा का आप झुटलाओगे. And so now when this person is there, and that is why the reason you'll see when you go to intensive care units, here you've got these specific nurses over there, or people who suffer from paralysis and they're having care, you will notice one thing. There's a specific nurse over there. For example, किसी को जो है bypass surgery हुई, he's not able to move. पूरे जिस्म में tubes लगी है. Notice what they do in the ICU. Every few hours they will come and they will turn the person. Every few hours they'll come and turn the person. This is the reason. You have problems with blood circulation, you could suffer cardiac arrest, you have bed sores. The bed sores क्या है? When a body remains in contact with the body, with the mattress for a very long time, certain regions start developing sores. I have seen people, you can put half a finger inside because of bed sores. Care was not taken by the children. ये माँ इतने घंटों तक 72 hours, 96 hours, she's in one place, she starts getting sores. You could put half a finger inside it. खुदा कहता है हम अगर कोई काम करते तो we'll make sure things don't happen wrong. They have to live for 309 years with نقلبهم ذات اليمين وذات اليمان. 309 years we've sent Israel to take their soul, to go, they put them into a deep slumber. We will take care of the bodies. We will continue for these 309 years to keep them in ذات اليمين on the right side or ذات الشمال on the left side. इसे कहते हैं खुदा. This is God. क्या कहें, चलो देखिए कहां तक पहुंचते हैं. Then the next part that goes over here very quickly. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. The fifth point that comes over here, and look over here, this is so interesting. وَكَلْبُهُمْ بَاسِطٌ ذِرَاعَيْهِ بِالْوَسِيدِ. और उनका कुत्ता जो है अपने पैरों को फैला हुए गार और केव के जो है गुफा के सामने जो है अपने हाथों को फैलाए हुए है. Now we will not discuss more about this. This will come later on in the verses, which I want to then address later on. But this is आज जो खुसूसियत जो केव के और कहफ की सुन लीजिए. What is so important about this dog? That यहाँ बात हो रही है about 7 individuals who are so pious, who've sacrificed everything that they had in life just to protect their religion. They travel, they leave everything, they travel, they come over here. God says, your khulus is of such nature. I want to make you an example for the communities to come afterwards. I'm going to make you for 309 years. You go inside, your cave is like this, internal it is like this, sun is like this, full on like this. We make arrangement that you keep your eyes open so that insects and animals fear that you're awake and they turn away and they don't approach you. We do this, we do that. We make sure that even in that sleep, you keep turning so that your body does not suffer those problems that would be suffering had you been in one place. Then he talks about a dog. What is the need for a dog? What is a dog? हमारे पास रिवायत है ला तदखुलुल मलाइकतु बैतन फीही कल्ब. जिस घर में कुत्ता है परवरदिगार आलम जो है अपने मलाइका को उस घर में नहीं भेजता. फिर कुत्ते की बहस, फिर कुत्ते की बहस, फिर कुत्ते का जिक्र, फिर कुत्ते से तफसील. और ये तो सिर्फ एक मकाम पर है, फिर आएगा उस वक्त हम जो है थोड़ी तफसील में देंगे. There's something in his dog, yeah? Or something related to the dog that he wants us to know. That dog is just a means. वो एक जरिया है, एक मकाम, एक बात को पहुंचाने का कि देखो ये कुत्ता जब ये कर सकता है तो तुम इंसान नहीं कर सकते. क्या बताना चाहता है? He wants to tell us, and you know the story how it happened. Yeah? So these 6 people, ministers come out. They walk. They come to a place and they see the shepherd. Shepherd se baat, you heard about the story. The shepherd say, he was asked, what are you doing? What are you doing? Can you give us some food? He gives food. Oh, you're noblemen. Oh, you're ministers. Oh, you're ministers. Where are you going? Because of this reason. He says, even I'm the same person. Can I join you? He says, all right, join us. Oh, kutta bhi bhi he says, take him inside. He will bark. He will give our location away. Be sure the way doesn't go. Keeps following. Imagine they walk so much, their legs are bruised. खून निकल रहे पैरों से. So imagine how much they walked. कुत्ता भी उतना ही चल रहा है. फिर वहां जाता है. उन लोग अंदर बैठे, they are inside, he's outside. God is saying, listen, when there are people who guide you on the right path, you should be like a dog, not leave them. Don't go your own way. कुत्ता है, मगर सिफत देखो इस कुत्ते की. सिफत देखो. ये हमारे बंदगान साले के पीछे इस तरह पड़ा है कि भगाया जा रहा है, भागता नहीं है। अली तुमको बुला रहा है, तुम भागे जा रहे हो। मासूम तुमसे कुछ कहने जा रहे, आप जो है अपने मन का करे जा रहे हो। कहते भाई चले जाओ, छोड़ दो हमें। नहीं, आप के साथ चलेंगे, कुत्ता कर रहे हो। जबाने भी जबाने में जबाने हाल की बात कर रहा हूं। यहां मौला बोल बोल के थक गए, शहीद हो गए, और हम जो है वो टस से सोने वाला नहीं है। हमें वही करना है जो हम चाहते हैं, क्योंकि दीन तो हमारे जागीर में मिली है। बस आप बोलते रहिए, हमें जो वही करना है वो हम करेंगे, बस आप करेंगे। Then we'll see what happens. But this is what I'm saying. وَكَلْبُهُمْ بَاسِطٌ ذَرَاعَيْهِ بِالْوَصِيدِ. And the last part, and then we end tonight. لو اطلعت عليهم لوليت منهم فرارا ولملئت منهم رعبا. देखिए ये कहते हैं कि जब आप, now he's explaining, this is if you were to have reached that place when these 7 people were sleeping. So you would have seen this cave, this vast thing, the ventilation, and you would have seen that their eyes are open, and you would have seen a lot of other things, and moving up and down, left and right. But you would have seen one thing. لو اطلعت عليهم, had you approached him when they were sleeping. अभी तो आपकी कुदरत नहीं है, लेकिन हम बताते कि अगर ये मौका होता तुम्हें, और अगर तुम इत्तला पैदा करते उनके सामने जाने के लिए, लवल्लैतुम, तुम भाग जाते वहां से. You would have run away. Why? लमुलिअत मिनहुम रुअबा, डर के मारे तुम वहां से भाग जाते. देखिए रुअब, yesterday remember I said Allah helps his खास बंदगान with something called रुअब, डर, खौफ, which in English would be a proper word, would be awe. उर्दू में सही वर्ड हैबत, डर और खौफ नहीं, हैबत. Haybat is something that God gives to certain close servants, that you look at them and you overcome by fear. Riwayat say one of the things that Allah helped his Habib was being by means of ru'ab. Says me, no, I'm not saying, I'm just a messenger. I pick up from there and pass it on to you. Says who? Says dua nutba. Dua nutba that tum padhte na. When he's talking, Imam Zaman is talking about all these attributes of the Holy Prophet, then he says, Ya Allah, you helped him with this ability of instilling awe into the hearts of people. कितनी मकाम पर कितनी मर्तबा ऐसे हुआ है. कुरैश के जमाने में मक्का में है वो जो है वो कुरैश उनके खूनी दुश्मन बन चुके. They want to kill him. The Prophet is done. He's doing his farming. Now he's tired. He goes to sleep under the trees, going to sleep. वह कुरैश को शर्त देगा, अरे मोहम्मद सो रहा है, अभी खत्म कर दो, फितना खत्म हो जाए. एक मर्तबा तलवार को उठाया, रसूल की आंख खुली, एक मर्तबा खड़े होकर देखा, उसने अपनी रिवायत के, दिस इज देयर इन रिवायत के जुमले बयान कर रहा हूं मैं, जेब से नहीं निकाल रहा. एक मर्तबा रसूल खड़े होकर इसके सामने आंखों ने आंख डाल दी, ये उठाया, इसके हाथ में जो है वो शमशीर है, he's got a sword in his hand. The Prophet is nothing, he's just got a, हाथ में कुछ नहीं हटता है, कुछ नहीं हाथ में. एक मर्तबा आंखों को आंखों में डाला कि एक मर्तबा रिवायत के तुमने उसके हाथ थरथराने लगे, हाथ से शमशीर गिर गई, तलवार गिर गई. रसूल ने खुदा झुकते हैं, तलवार को उठाया, अब तू मुझे बता कौन बचाएगा? मुझे तो मेरे परवरदिगार ने बचा लिया, तुझे कौन बचाएगा? तो तुझे भी मेरा परवरदिगार बचाएगा, क्योंकि मेरा परवरदिगार ने मुझसे कहा कि रहम से काम लो, मैं रहमतुल लिल आलमीन. एक मर्तबा कदमों पे गिरता, अशहदु अन्नका रसूलुल्लाह, तुम अल्लाह के रसूल हो. See what I'm saying? This robe. रिवायत says that, forget रिवायत, आयत is telling, हमने उनके चेहरे पर ऐसा रोब डाल दिया कि अगर तो कहीं ऐसा हो गया कि बच्चे खेलते खेलते वहां पहुंच गए, क्योंकि ये असरार गैब है, ये सभी को जो है वो वाज़ेह नहीं होना. अगर बच्चे खेलते खेलते पहुंच गए, एक मर्तबा निगाह करके डर के मारे भाग जाएंगे, ऐसा रौब हमने उनके चेहरे पर रखा. We've given them tools to survive. We've given them tools for positive survival. We've given them tools negative to protect them from the deterrents, as deterrents to things that could harm them. पूरा नक्शा जो है इस तरह का परवरदिगार आलम ने बनाया. देखो हम जब कोई काम करते हैं ना तो कोई कसर बाकी नहीं रखते. Everything is there. अब यहां पे बस एक जुमला करके जो आज की गुफ्तगू तमाम. देखिए एक जुमला है, ये एक वाकया है, 7 फर्द है, मासूम भी नहीं है, उनके साथ भी कोई मासूम नहीं, साथ में उनके एक कुत्ता है जो नजिसुल आइन है. अब उसको 100 मरतबा धो ले, वो हमेशा नजिस रहेगा। लेकिन फिर भी परवरदिगार आलम इज गॉन टू सच एक्सटेंट टू डिस्क्राइब दिस एंटायर इवेंट। और वो अफराद जो एक मरतबा एक आयत में आई है कि वो रसूल के साथ गार में थे, इतना मकाम बड़ा बना दिया माशाअल्लाह। गार में हम थे, वी वर इन द केव, ए अल्लाह इज रिवील्ड वन आयतन फजीलत। कुत्ते के बराबर भी जो है वो तफसील नहीं मिली है। सही बता रहे हैं हम, ये हम बता रहे सूरह काफ की बात, ये नुक्ता है, वो वावा वाला नुक्ता नहीं है, ये सही बता रहे हैं। आप देखिए यहां जो तफसील आई है वहां असल कुछ बात नहीं आई है। अभी आएंगी फिर और बात ये कुत्ते के सिलसिले में, उनका तो रफा दफा करके कहते जाओ भाई, इसी पे खुश हो जाओ वसीलत के अनुमान से। But this is what Quran is all about. This is what we need to understand. This is what we need to understand. Right now we've reached the point. Next time, the next ayat is where I want to stop. وَكَذَلِكَ بَعَثْنَاهُمْ وَكَذَلِكَ بَعَثْنَاهُمْ لِيَتَسَاءَلُوا مِنْهُمْ بَيْنَهُمْ। और इसी तरह हमने उनको दोबारा फिर, अभी right now the talk is all about sleep. Now at this point he says, okay, now you wake up. अब उठने के बाद जो दास्तान है, that is also very interesting. देखिए सोने से पहले की दास्तान आप सुन चुके, मगर उसके बाद क्या होता है? देखिए सुन बात करने के बाद हमने फिर उनको उठाया। Now they've woken up. Now what happens? That is another interesting event. उनके उठने के बाद क्या हो गया? आपस में मुकालमा क्या हुआ? जब सोसाइटी में निकलते तो क्या हुआ? सोसाइटी का वाकुनेशन, रिएक्शन, what is the reaction of the society is very important. What do they do next is very important. How do they end this entire event is very important. And then finally what happens? Remember, these are 7 people who are coming back at the time of Imam Zamana. Just as interesting things were before they're going to sleep, equally as interesting things that will happen after they get up from sleep. That inshallah we will discuss tomorrow. परवरदिगार आलम से दुआ कि परवरदिगार तुझे वास्ता मोहम्मद और आले मोहम्मद का यानी तौफीक अता फरमा कि तेरे कुरान की मारिफत हासिल कर सके और उसके जरिए से जो है अहल बैत तक और अहल बैत की मारिफत तक पहुंच सके। रब्बना तक़ब्बल मिन्ना इन्नका अंतस समीउल अलीम गफ़रल्लाहु लना व लकुम वल्हम्दुलिल्लाहि रब्बिल आलमीन।
Assalamu alaikum Nabi Allah, Assalamu alaikum Habib Allah, Assalamu alaikum Sayyidullah, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alaikum Ali ibn Abi Talib, Assalamu alaikum Fatima al-Zahra Sayyidat Nisa al-Alamin, Assalamu alaikum Hasan al-Mujtaba, Assalamu alaikum Hussein al-Shaheed, Assalamu alaikum Ali ibn Hussein wa Muhammad ibn Ali wa Ja'far ibn Muhammad wa Musa ibn Ja'far wa Ali ibn Musa wa Muhammad ibn Ali wa Ali ibn Muhammad wa Hassan ibn Ali. Assalamu alaikum ya sahib al-asr wa zaman. الأمان 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 من فتنة الزمان. السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن. السلام عليك يا إمام الإنس والجان. عجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله تعالى مخرجك وظهورك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.